Hello, everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where we always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. Coming to you from the Sports Interaction Studio, I'm your host, Nicholas Playlaw.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, we are providing you with some Kyle Tucker updates that happened over the weekend. Kyle Tucker, he met with the Dodgers and he met with the Mets. Not just the Blue Jays anymore. Time has gone by and he's starting to meet with other teams. We're going to talk about how that impacts his market and where the Blue Jays stand moving forward. Before we do, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button, everybody. And also, if you have the ability to do so, hit that hype button as well. It helps small creators like ourselves out here on YouTube. We've been waiting. We've had the update before the Christmas and holiday breaks that Kyle Tucker met with the Blue Jays down in the Florida complex or league, and ever since then, didn't hear a single thing. We kept waiting. We knew eventually he would meet with some other teams, and that's exactly what happened. Over the weekend, it was reported that he met with those Dodgers and he met with those Mets. Two big competitors that I don't like to see the Blue Jays being attached to.
Well, listen, I know that some people are going to hear this update and get a little scared because ultimately, Dodgers, Mets, we have lost to them before.
Yes.
But I'm actually looking at this from a glass half full standpoint, because for me, we were in purgatory with Tucker for a while now. It was Toronto was involved with him. They liked him the most. They were willing to offer him the long-term deal, which we'll talk more about later in this podcast. But you didn't have anyone else really serious about bringing him over to their squad. Having some of these reports come out, I actually think is a good thing, because now, hopefully, his market is going to start moving, because we were just paused for a long time.
Right. When you think about the Blue Jays, I was saying this for a while, if there was no one competing for his contract, well, if I'm the Blue Jays, I can wait for your price to go lower, and I could take my sweet time. And a lot of people are coming out saying, yeah, the Blue Jays, they're in no rush right now. A, they've done a lot of moves already,
Correct,
and they feel very confident in their organization, in their roster they have for 2026. But B, if there's nobody else, pressing the issue, why press the issue for yourselves and pay up that big dollar?
Now, the scary thing is that this is where teams are going to get led on. This is where somebody is going to get used as leverage. Is it going to be the Dodgers? Is it going to be the Mets? Or is it going to be Toronto like we've seen in the past? I'm hoping that this year is going to be different.
Yeah.
We've been the one used as leverage for a long period of time. Now, maybe the Dodgers, maybe the Mets are going to be used as leverage.
And I think it makes sense. I mean, if you're Kyle Tucker, you're hoping you get your one big payday. That's kind of what everyone was anticipating. That's what he was anticipating, we're assuming. A big payday of $300 to $400 million for a long-term deal. And right now it feels like the Mets and the Dodgers, at least the word on the street is, they're not willing to go that long of a term, but they are willing to give the high AAV. That would be their competitive advantage over the Blue Jays. So if you are the Blue Jays and you're hearing that they're willing to go high AAV, which might be attractive to Kyle Tucker, you get to hit free agency another time and try to get a bigger bag later on as inflation goes on. You need to probably pony up and start getting a decently high AAV, but a much longer guarantee for Tucker.
Correct. Now, the latest that has been reported on both of these, specifically the Mets, because that's the team that is starting to get the most media coverage right here. Jon Heyman and Jim Duquette, both of them have been talking about the New York Mets in relation to Tucker. Apparently, they are very much in the mix for him. Jim Duquette went on to say that they could start to flirt with the idea of a 5-year deal. Now, we don't know if 5 years is considered long or short, because the word on the street is that Toronto is the team that's willing to offer a longer deal than New York, than the Dodgers. But is that deal 6 years? Is that deal 5 years? We don't know what that longer term deal actually looks like, because if the Dodgers are only willing to offer a 2-year deal, then technically 4-year deal would be longer than a 2-year deal.
I hear what you're saying, and I think the Mets, from as well what Jim's saying here, is they need to also offer up the dollar amount, because when you do look at the two organizations, yes, the Mets are a good organization in their own right, but right now in 2026, I mean, you're up against the two World Series teams, the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays have proven to have a great organization, and you don't need me to speak for the Dodgers. They've had back-to-back rings. Of course, they're a great organization with Shohei Ohtani and company in there, so you got those guys right there. Whereas the Mets, you got a harder convincing, organization where you just let Pete Alonso go. Your pitching staff isn't complete. It feels like they're having disputes between the GM and the ownership and Steve Cohen. What direction are they going in? So it feels like to get him over, you're going to have to pony up the dollar amount, which will then influence the Blue Jays. You got to be able to pony up in your own right and give a longer term deal and more commitment to the guy.
Could be true. Now, we don't know exactly what Kyle Tucker values, because if he's the type of individual that just cares about the money, then maybe that's checkmark to New York. He has won a World Series before, so maybe it's a, hey, I've been there, done that type of thing, and now I just want to get my big payday. We don't know what's the most important to him. Maybe it's that long-term stability, being with a team forever and being with a competent organization. Either way, though, right now, New York getting more involved in this thing than they were previously. Now, the Dodgers, word on the street there is they are looking to be the shortest out of the longer term contracts.
Yeah,
the Blue Jays are doing it the longest, and New York's the middle. Dodgers are the low end.
That's the thing. Everyone's got their own strength right here that they can offer up. And like I'm kind of saying, like Blue Jays can offer you long-term stability and a great organization and maybe a couple teammates that you played with in the past. Whereas the Dodgers, it's like, okay, you could play with Shohei Ohtani and like go on this amazing run with us for the next few years. Like, we're going to be good for a long time. You could come here for your short-term deal and win a ring. Like that could be appealing to a guy. So it all depends on what Kyle Tucker wants. But if to circle it all back to the Jays, you got to be able to give him the money right now. You've been waiting for it to go down and down. You had the money stored up. At least that's what we heard. They were willing to do it. You got to be able to pony up now, and you can't chintz out, because if you do cheap out, then yeah, you're going to be beat by these other teams. You got to be able to pay out.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I still feel very good about this whole thing. And I think that this was bound to happen eventually. We weren't going to go the entire winter with nobody other than Toronto showing real serious interest in Kyle Tucker. This was bound to happen. He is the #1 free agent on the market for a reason. Now, I think that we've entered into the leverage portion of his sweepstakes.
You needed it if you're the Blue Jays. You needed
Correct.
that. You couldn't get a deal done unless, because they're waiting. Okay, you're going to keep letting my price go down. I'm going to keep waiting until I get another team, because now you're entering into a different tier of the market.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I do believe that Toronto is still in the driver's seat here, because ultimately, what's more valuable to a player? Long-term stability with generational wealth, or am I going to sign a 2-year deal and then have some risk after the fact?
Correct.
Maybe I get injured, maybe I don't play very well. If it was me, I want to have the longest term contract with the most money possible. And I do believe that Toronto is going to be the team that's willing to offer that over New York, over LA. So right now, knock on wood, I know that we've always been the team used as leverage before, but I see some of these reports coming out right now with New York, with LA. They feel more leveragey than the reports about Toronto with Kyle Tucker. That's just my take on things.
Of course, because we were able to go to the S tier in terms of contract that he wanted, where these teams weren't, right? And again, like to circle back to Kyle Tucker, I think he should be looking for a long-term. Look about his last couple of years. He was injury riddled, right? I mean, last year he wasn't so much, but the year before that, he was injured for the entire year. He's got, one of his best abilities? The stolen base, the ability to steal and play defense. Well, he was dealing with an injury with his defense last year. So if I'm Kyle Tucker, if I play a couple years and I hit free agent again, but I lose my legs, I lose my defensive ability, all of a sudden, I'm not worth that amount that the Blue Jays are currently looking at me right now. So for him, I'd want to lock him down. Now, some Blue Jay fans out there might be thinking, well, why would we want to lock him down? It's because that's what you have to do to get star players right now to go win a World Series. You got to be able to pay up, and we got to use that to our ability.
I also am not totally worried about the injuries or what have you, the other performances. However, if you're Kyle Tucker, you might be, because if you get injured 1 year, well, that's going to completely screw over any potential contract that you would have after your LA deal or after your New York deal. So that's where I believe he would be sitting. Now, Toronto, this does make the most sense for them, and it's the easiest fit, because we were looking over at all the contracts that are coming off of the books. Recently, I posted a video talking about this, but Keegan Matheson just further hammered this point home, and I do think that this is important. George Springer, Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, Dalton Varsho, Jose Barrios with a potential player opt-out after this whole thing. But specifically, the players that I'm looking at here is George Springer and Dalton Varsho, two individuals that are in that lineup. And I know that Springer is transitioned more of
DH,
the times than not to DH, but still outfielder with another outfielder. Maybe you want to go and spend a lot of money on an outfielder right now, so that isn't that much of a Band-Aid to rip off.
Yeah, if history repeats itself, and sometimes with Ross Atkins, it really does. He likes certain players. He likes to follow certain formulas. And one of the formula that we've been seeing is I like to get one stability guy in that outfield, which is George Springer, and lock him down. Well, he's coming up, right? He doesn't play outfield like he's saying anymore. Let's go get that guy in the middle of his career that can hit for power, hit for contact, have great defense, steal a little bit. That's exactly what Kyle Tucker is, except maybe even a little bit better at the time of his signing. So if you're the Blue Jays, get it done. You got the money coming off the books. You can afford to do it, right? And I know, right, we don't know if they're going to bring back Dalton Varsho or George Springer. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, I know there's one thing. Ross Atkins likes guarantees, and he likes his window getting extended. This would certainly do so.
Now, in conclusion, folks, at least this is where I'm sitting, and you give me your final thoughts as well. We're going to be hearing more reports over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long this thing goes on for. We're going to be hearing more reports that things with New York, things with LA are going well.
Yeah.
I'm not worried, though.
Listen,
I'm not actually worried until we see the update from Jeff Passan. I'm not worried. I'm looking at this right now, and I'm thinking that Toronto still in the driver's seat. They will have to come to terms with going maybe a little higher than they initially would have hoped for. Yeah. But if they're okay with that, I still think that this is our sweepstakes to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, no one is willing to go with that S-tier offer of that 10-year, $400 million. The Blue Jays were. And the reason why it wasn't signed immediately, and a lot of comments talk about that, is because they were able to use their leverage to lower the price. Now, unfortunately, they're going to have to raise it up to get a deal done sooner rather than later.
Correct. And the one thing I will clarify is we don't know specifically if it was 10 years. We don't know. We don't know.
Again, we don't know anything.
Right.
we are going based off all the reports online, which are that number. And again, we haven't heard the update for quite a while. Could be low as $300 million right now. But again, somewhere around that range, the Blue Jays were able to go.
If you're willing to go longer, then you are going to have to do that now, because if New York goes 5 years, well, you're going to have to at least go 6 or 7 or 8 to convince Kyle Tucker to come here. But folks, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Please make sure to hit that like, smash that subscribe button, and hit the hype button too if you have the option to do so. $4 a month, become a YouTube member. And thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!